Opening, the quiet question most people never ask. There's a strange silence that follows a question most people avoid. It usually arrives late at night, when the screens finally go dark, when the noise retreats just enough for something uncomfortable to surface. The question is simple, almost harmless in its wording, yet heavy in its implications. When was the last time I truly chose myself? Not productivity, not obligations, not the endless expectations of others, just you. The Stoics believed that most human suffering does not come from catastrophe, but from misdirection, from living outward instead of inward, from confusing motion with meaning. Seneca warned that people are not short on time, but wasteful of it. Marcus Aurelius observed that many live as if they will live forever, postponing themselves indefinitely. And here we are, centuries later, more connected than any generation before us, yet profoundly disconnected from our own lives. We wake up already reacting. We move through the day responding. We fall asleep exhausted, yet strangely unfulfilled. Not because we worked too hard on what matters, but because we spent ourselves on what doesn't. This is not a moral failure. It is not a lack of intelligence or discipline. It is something far more subtle. It is the quiet theft of attention. And before one can become their own priority, before they can work in silence or build a life rooted in Stoic clarity, there is a fundamental truth that must be confronted. Your mind is not fully yours anymore. Part 1. The Hijacked Mind. How you lost ownership without noticing. The Stoics lived without smartphones, notifications, or algorithms designed to capture attention. Yet they identified the same danger with remarkable precision. Epictetus warned that while people fiercely protect their bodies, they casually surrender their minds to anyone willing to influence them. To the Stoics, the mind was sacred territory. Today, it is open land. Look at the modern morning. Before your feet touch the floor, your attention is already claimed. Messages, headlines, opinions, none chosen deliberately, all accepted automatically. This is not coincidence, it is conditioning. Neuroscience now confirms what Stoicism intuited long ago. Attention is finite. Every interruption fragments it. Every micro-reward trains the brain to prefer immediacy over depth. The result is a mind that struggles to stay with itself. From a Stoic perspective, this is catastrophic. Self-mastery begins with attention. If you cannot direct where awareness rests, you cannot govern judgment, impulse, or action. Marcus Aurelius taught that life's quality depends on thought quality. But what happens when your thoughts are no longer self-directed? You stop choosing and start reacting. You drift instead of deciding, and drifting feels comfortable until years pass and fulfillment never arrives. The economy of distraction. Modern life rewards availability, not depth. Instant replies, constant presence, endless responsiveness. Stoicism asks, at what cost? Every moment attention is claimed externally, it is unavailable internally. Reflection, planning, and self-correction, the forces that shape a life, require uninterrupted awareness. The Stoics divided reality into two categories: what is within your control, what is not. Your attention belongs entirely to the first. Yet most people surrender it to news cycles, social approval, and constant interruption. From a Stoic lens, this is dangerous.
A distracted mind is easily governed. An unfocused life cannot be lived intentionally. Why discipline feels harder than before. Many blame themselves. I lack discipline. I can't focus. The Stoics rejected this framing. Discipline is not innate, it is trained, and modern life trains the opposite. Instant stimulation weakens patience. Constant reward erodes effort. Distraction makes focus feel unnatural. This is not a personal failure, it is environmental. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when externals stop governing your inner state. Today, those externals are systems engineered to hold attention. From a Stoic view, reclaiming the mind is foundational, not optional. You cannot prioritize yourself while your thoughts are scattered across demands that don't serve your values. Stoic attention as moral discipline. The Stoics did not see focus as productivity, it was moral responsibility. To guide attention deliberately was to honor finite time. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet made time daily for reflection, not because he had extra time, but because he understood its value. Modern people claim no time for growth, yet lose hours to forgettable consumption. The Stoic response is not guilt, but clarity. Anything that does not support reason, virtue, or purpose is not neutral. It is a liability. The first Stoic reversal. Before changing habits, the Stoics changed perception. Here is the reversal. Your phone isn't the problem. Your job isn't the problem. Other people aren't the problem. The problem is unexamined permission. You allowed constant access to your attention without asking if it serves the life you want to build. Stoicism teaches that no one can harm you without consent, and distraction works the same way. This insight is not meant to shame you, it is meant to empower you. Once attention becomes precious, finite, and yours, the way you guard it changes. With attention restored, focus becomes possible. With focus, effort gains strength. Only then can deeper Stoic work begin. Pause here. This is the foundation. Before discipline, habits, or self-prioritization, the Stoics insisted on this first act. Take your mind back. Without it, every other effort collapses under distraction.
Part 2. The illusion of busyness. Why you feel short on time but long on regret. People repeat the phrase, "I don't have time," so often it feels automatic. It sounds responsible, even mature, but from a Stoic perspective, it is rarely true. What most people lack is not time, but ownership of time. Seneca addressed this nearly 2,000 years ago in On the Shortness of Life. Life, he argued, is not short by nature. It only feels short when it is wasted on what does not deserve it. People guard their money carefully, yet surrender their hours without thought. Seneca would not be shocked by modern exhaustion. He would be puzzled by our confusion of its cause. Why busyness feels like progress. Modern culture glorifies busyness. Full calendars, instant replies, constant motion. But motion is not direction. The Stoics distinguished between activity and purposeful action. Only one moves life forward, the other merely fills time. When people say they're too busy to exercise, learn, reflect, or build something meaningful, their time has usually been claimed by low-value demands, notifications, meetings without outcomes, and endless consumption disguised as rest. These don't feel like waste in the moment, which is why they're dangerous. Pleasant waste is the most effective kind. Time as a non-renewable resource. The Stoics treated time as brutally finite.
Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that death could arrive at any moment, not to induce fear, but to sharpen priorities. This is not pessimism, it is clarity. A Stoic does not ask, "How can I do more?" They ask, "What deserves to be done at all?" Most people allow time to be spent before deciding whether it was worth spending. Years later, they wonder why nothing meaningful has changed. The modern time trap. Technology did not steal your time, it fragmented it. A day filled with interruptions feels full, but produces little. Each distraction drains energy and makes deep work feel heavier than it is. From a Stoic view, constant interruption weakens rational and keeps you reactive instead of deliberate. Anything that diminishes rational control should be treated with suspicion. The Stoic reframe: time as character. Stoicism offers an uncomfortable truth. How you spend your time is how you train your character. Avoid effort and you train avoidance. Live in distraction and you train restlessness. Invest in growth and you train discipline. There is no neutral schedule. Every day shapes who you become. This is why Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, still wrote nightly reflections. He refused to surrender his inner life to chaos. Why "I'll do it tomorrow" feels safe. The mind prefers delay because delay avoids discomfort. The Stoics understood this. Effort feels heavy before it begins and lighter once underway. You do not wait for motivation, you act and motivation follows. Small, deliberate commitments beat grand plans postponed forever. Writing down a few meaningful tasks is not productivity theater, it is self-respect. The Stoic standard for a good day: not perfect, not impressive. A good day is one where you acted in alignment with your values, even briefly. One focused effort, one resisted distraction, one step taken despite resistance. This is how lives change, quietly and consistently. A question worth asking: if someone audited your last week, not your intentions, but your actual time, what would it reveal about what you truly value? Stoicism teaches that truth lives in behavior, not declarations. Time never returns, but awareness always can.
Part 3. Work in silence. Why the Stoics distrusted applause. There's a subtle temptation that feels productive but quietly undermines progress: speaking before acting. Announcing intentions, explaining plans, or seeking acknowledgement for a future self creates the illusion of movement without real change. From a Stoic perspective, this habit is one of the fastest ways to weaken discipline. The danger of premature recognition. The Stoics distrusted applause not because they rejected achievement, but because they understood human psychology. Early praise replaces effort with satisfaction. The mind mistakes recognition for completion. Epictetus warned against declaring intentions instead of fulfilling them. Words drain the energy that action requires. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Talking about goals releases dopamine, the same chemical tied to accomplishment, delivering reward before the work is done. From a Stoic lens, this is self-deception. You feel progress without making any. Silence as strength. Working quietly preserves energy and protects intention from interference. Marcus Aurelius acted according to principle and accepted misunderstanding when it came. His focus was alignment, not admiration. In a culture that equates visibility with value, the Stoic asks a sharper question: does your work need witnesses, or does it need completion? The quiet craftsman. History favors those who chose silence over spectacle. Leonardo da Vinci did not announce unfinished work. He withdrew, refined, and allowed time to shape mastery. His achievements emerged from patience, not exposure.
This reflects Stoic discipline. Excellence is built privately and revealed naturally. While others chase approval, the disciplined chase mastery. Why talking feels so good? Speaking about goals offers three comforts: a temporary identity, encouragement without effort, delay of discomfort. The Stoics rejected all three. Identity comes from action. Encouragement must be earned. Discomfort signals progress. Silence, to a Stoic, is not emptiness, it is focus. Stealth mode. Working in silence doesn't mean hiding forever. It means delaying exposure until something real exists. Instead of declaring change, you change. Instead of announcing habits, you practice them. Instead of seeking affirmation, you build evidence. The world doesn't need promises. It responds to results. Internal reward over praise. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that doing the right thing is its own reward. Praise, if it comes, is secondary. If it doesn't, nothing changes. Most people lose momentum without recognition. The Stoic grows stronger alone because their standard is internal. Ask yourself, if no one ever knew, would you still do it? If not, your motivation depends on something you don't control. The mirror test. The Stoic measure was never public opinion, but self-examination. Did I act according to reason today? This question removes performance and reveals truth, and truth grounds rather than inflates. A quiet shift. When you stop announcing and start doing, energy consolidates, confidence stabilizes, discipline detaches from mood. You stop seeking permission and begin living from intention instead of image. Final thought. The loudest lives are rarely the most accomplished. Noise consumes energy. Silence concentrates it. If you want to build something lasting, resist the urge to explain yourself. Work, refine, persist. Let the results speak when they are ready.
Part 4. Surround yourself with giants. How environment shapes destiny. When life feels stagnant, people often say, "I just need more willpower." The Stoics would disagree, not because willpower is useless, but because environment quietly overpowers intention far more often than we admit. Seneca warned plainly, "We become those with whom we associate." This was not poetry, it was a caution. The invisible hand of influence. Humans are imitative by nature. We absorb language, habits, and values from those around us, often without noticing. This is not weakness, it is biology. If pessimism surrounds you, it feels normal. If mediocrity is accepted, excellence feels extreme. If complacency is common, discipline feels unnecessary. Environment sets the baseline from which you operate. So a Stoic asks not only what do I want, but what am I repeatedly exposed to? Why good intentions fail. Many people genuinely want to grow stronger and wiser, yet remain immersed in conversations that normalize stagnation. Complaints without solutions, dreams without action, criticism without self-examination. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul is dyed by its thoughts, and today many of those thoughts come from social reinforcement, not reflection. When distraction is normal, focus feels strange. When effort is mocked, discipline feels isolating. This is how environments quietly sabotage growth. Stoic selectivity is not arrogance. Choosing your environment is often mistaken for elitism. The Stoics rejected this. They did not promote isolation or contempt, but discernment. Epictetus warned that constant exposure to harmful influence is not endurance, it is negligence. You do not need to remove people from your life, but you must recognize their effect. Some people sharpen clarity,
Others drain it. Ignoring this is self-deception. Mental giants. To the Stoics, a giant was not defined by status, but by reason, discipline, and moral strength, someone who challenges you through example. Today, this may include thinkers, writers, creators, or communities you never meet. Environment is not only physical. What you read, what you listen to, what you consume repeatedly, all of it is company. The digital environment. The Stoics would treat modern digital spaces cautiously. Constant exposure to outrage, comparison, and negativity reshapes perception and weakens focus. A Stoic asks, does this strengthen my character or erode it? Information that does not help you live better is not neutral. It displaces discipline. The Stoic filter. Apply a filter to your environment. Who encourages effort over excuses? Who values growth over comfort? Who demonstrates potential through action, not talk? Spend more time there. Reduce exposure to voices that normalize stagnation. This is not abandonment, it is alignment. The courage to stand apart. Growth often creates distance. When you change, your environment may resist, not because you're wrong, but because you are no longer convenient. The Stoics taught that comfort bought at the cost of character is too expensive. Better to stand briefly alone than remain permanently diminished. A practical shift. You do not need a total overhaul. Start small. Reduce one influence. Increase one influence. Replace one conversation. Redirect 1 hour. Small environmental changes compound. Stoic conclusion. You do not rise to your intentions, you fall to your environment. If you want to become your own priority, design surroundings that support discipline instead of eroding it. This is not luck, it is design, and design does not run out of energy.
Part 5. Mental minimalism. Remove what drains you before you add what drives you. Most people treat self-improvement like shopping. They add more habits, goals, techniques, and information, then wonder why they feel overwhelmed and exhausted. The Stoics took the opposite path. Before asking, "What should I add?" they asked, "What must be removed?" The Stoic view of inner clutter. The Stoics believed clarity is the mind's natural state. Confusion is learned. Every unnecessary worry, comparison, resentment, or rumination occupies space meant for reason and action. Marcus Aurelius warned that habitual thoughts shape the mind itself, scattered or calm. Mental clutter is not harmless. It drains energy. Why adding more fails? When the mind is overloaded, even good habits feel heavy. Discipline fails not from weakness, but from excess. The Stoics knew restraint creates power. Epictetus urged reducing desires before increasing achievements. Want less, and contentment requires less effort. Need less, and freedom expands. The main sources of mental noise. From a Stoic lens, most clutter comes from obsessing over what you cannot control, constant comparison with others, commitments accepted without alignment, reliving the past, or pre-suffering the future. None improve life, all drain it. The Stoic knife. Modern culture teaches coping. Stoicism teaches cutting. Instead of managing anxiety about outcomes, the Stoic releases attachment. Instead of fighting comparison, they abandon the scoreboard. This is not denial, it is precision. You do not negotiate with distractions, you remove their access.
mental minimalism in practice. When a thought arises, ask, is this within my control? Does this help me act well? Does this align with my values? If not, let it go, rationally, not emotionally. With practice, this builds inner quiet that does not depend on external silence. Less input, more depth. The Stoics valued depth over volume, fewer texts read deeply, fewer opinions held tightly, fewer conflicts engaged. Attention is finite. What you feed it shapes your life. Reducing input is not ignorance, it is selectivity. Peace is subtractive. One of Stoicism's hardest truths, peace comes not from achieving more, but from needing less. When you stop demanding perfect conditions, you gain the ability to act decisively within reality. The quiet power of a clear mind. A clear mind moves faster, chooses better, and recovers quicker. Stoic calm looks like confidence, not because nothing is wrong, but because nothing unnecessary is being carried. The core message. Before becoming more disciplined, become less distracted. Before chasing peace, remove the noise. Mental minimalism is not emptiness, it is readiness.
Part 6. Consistency over intensity. The Stoic Path to Lasting Change. Most people believe transformation comes from dramatic moments. A sudden decision, a burst of motivation, a radical overnight shift. The Stoics found this belief dangerously misleading. They did not trust intensity. They trusted continuity. Why intensity fails? Intensity is emotional. It rises quickly, feels powerful, and disappears just as fast. It depends on mood, energy, and circumstance, all things outside your control. The Stoics were suspicious of anything that required perfect conditions to function. Epictetus warned that progress built on enthusiasm alone collapses when resistance appears, and resistance always appears. What survives pressure is not passion, but habit. Stoic change is unglamorous. Stoic discipline is quiet and repetitive, the same actions, the same standards, day after day. Marcus Aurelius did not wake each morning inspired. He woke prepared. He reminded himself that difficulty was inevitable and that virtue did not require enjoyment. This mindset is profoundly freeing. When you stop expecting consistency to feel exciting, you stop abandoning it. Small actions, big consequences. The Stoics understood compounding long before modern psychology. A small daily action, repeated without drama, reshapes identity. Not all at once, not visibly, but permanently. They did not ask, "What will change my life?" They asked, "What can I do today that aligns with reason?" This scale matters. Grand plans exhaust. Modest commitments endure. The Stoic standard, non-negotiable minimums. Rather than chasing perfection, the Stoics practiced minimum standards. Not how much can I do, but what must not be skipped. A short reflection, a moment of restraint, one deliberate action. These minimums protect momentum on hard days, which matter more than easy ones. Why all or nothing is the enemy? The Stoics rejected binary thinking. Missing one day does not invalidate effort. Falling short does not erase discipline. What matters is return, not perfection. Intensity punishes inconsistency. Consistency absorbs it. Building trust with yourself.
Each small follow-through builds self-trust, not confidence based on emotion, confidence based on evidence. Over time, you stop negotiating with yourself. Action becomes expected, not debated. This is Stoic strength, quiet reliability. Stoic time horizons. The Stoics thought in lifetimes, not weeks. They knew change measured in decades feels slow only to impatient minds. Urgency creates anxiety. Patience creates direction. A practical Stoic commitment. Choose one practice so small it feels almost insignificant. Do it daily, without exception, without fanfare. This is not minimalism, it is strategy. The core truth. Intensity starts journeys, consistency finishes them. The Stoics built lives not from heroic moments, but from ordinary days handled well.
Part 7. Master your response, where Stoic power actually lives. Most people believe power comes from controlling events. The Stoics saw this as a mistake. Events are unstable. People are unpredictable. Outcomes are uncertain. Basing your strength on any of these guarantees weakness. So the Stoics built power elsewhere, in response. The Stoic divide that changes everything. At the heart of Stoicism is a single distinction: what is within your control and what is not. This is not abstract philosophy. It is a filter for living. Your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, these belong to you. Other people's behavior, external outcomes, luck and timing, these do not. Most suffering begins when people reverse this boundary, trying to control what they cannot while neglecting what they can. Emotions are not the enemy. The Stoics were not emotionless. They simply refused to be ruled by emotion. Epictetus taught that events do not disturb us, our judgments about them do. Feelings arise automatically, but what you do with them is where agency begins. Anger arrives uninvited. Fear knocks without warning. Indulgence, however, is a choice. The gap between stimulus and response. The Stoics trained themselves to create a pause, not suppression, not denial, but space where reason can speak. This pause is power. In that gap, you decide, will I react or respond? Will I escalate or observe? Will I act from impulse or principle? Most people live in reflex. The Stoics practiced deliberation. Why reaction feels good and costs you. Reaction provides release. Yelling, blaming, complaining. It feels good briefly because it discharges emotion, but it leaves damage behind. Relationships strained, credibility weakened, self-respect diminished. Response, by contrast, often feels uncomfortable but preserves dignity. Stoic tools for emotional resilience. The Stoics trained perception, not just willpower. Negative visualization, imagining loss in advance to reduce shock. Reframing, treating obstacles as training, not injustice. Self-dialogue, constant reminders of what matters and what does not. These were rehearsals for real life. When you feel provoked, the Stoics advised a simple sequence. 1. Name the impression. This feels insulting. 2. Pause judgment. Is this truly harmful? 3. Choose action. What response aligns with my values? This transforms chaos into clarity. Calm is not weakness. Calm unsettles those who rely on emotional leverage. A composed response denies them control. Stoic calm looks like confidence, even authority, not because nothing affects you, but because you decide what deserves reaction. The Stoic measure of strength.
Strength is not overpowering others, it is governing yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to become like your enemy, not moral vanity, but strategic restraint. The core message: you do not control what happens. You control what it becomes inside you. That is where Stoic power lives.
Part 8. Acceptance without surrender. The Stoic art of agreeing with reality. Few Stoic ideas are more misunderstood than acceptance. To many, it sounds like giving up, passivity, settling for less. The Stoics meant none of that. To them, acceptance was not weakness, it was clarity. Why resistance creates suffering. Most pain is not caused by events themselves, but by the demand that reality be different. This shouldn't have happened. This isn't fair. I shouldn't be here. The Stoics saw this as friction against the unavoidable. You cannot win a fight with reality, only exhaust yourself. Epictetus put it plainly: do not wish events to happen as you want, but want them to happen as they do, and life flows more smoothly. This is not resignation, it is alignment. Acceptance is the starting point of action. Stoic acceptance begins with one sentence: this is what is happening. No judgment, no fantasy. Once reality is seen clearly, intelligent action becomes possible. Denial delays action. Anger distorts it. Acceptance sharpens it. A Stoic does not argue with facts. They reserve energy for response. Acceptance versus apathy. Apathy withdraws. Acceptance engages. The Stoics accepted what they could not change and worked relentlessly on what they could. Marcus Aurelius ruled through war, plague, and betrayal. Acceptance did not make him passive, it made him effective. You accept the storm, you still steer the ship. Why resistance feels comfortable. Resistance offers the illusion of control. Fighting reality internally feels like action. Acceptance feels quiet, and quiet can be unsettling. The Stoics understood that clarity feels empty at first because drama has been removed. What remains is responsibility. Amor fati, loving your fate. Amor fati means loving fate, not tolerating or enduring it. This does not mean enjoying pain. It means using everything, including obstacles, as material for virtue. The obstacle is not blocking the path. It is the path. How acceptance frees energy. When you stop fighting what cannot change, energy returns. Complaint becomes effort. Regret becomes focus. This is why acceptance often feels like relief. Stoic practice, radical realism. Ask yourself, what am I refusing to accept? What changes once I acknowledge it? What action becomes possible when I stop arguing with reality? Acceptance clarifies the next step. Acceptance and dignity. There is dignity in facing reality without distortion. The Stoics believe dignity comes from composure, not from reshaping circumstances to protect ego. This composure is not cold, it is grounded. The core message. You do not find peace by winning arguments with reality. You find peace by cooperating with it. Acceptance is not the end of effort. It is the end of wasted effort. Part 9. Memento Mori. How remembering death teaches you how to live. There's one Stoic practice that unsettles people more than any other. Not because it is dark, but because it is honest. The practice is Memento Mori. Remember that you will die. The Stoics did not use this idea to induce fear. They used it to eliminate illusion. Why the Stoics kept death close. Most people treat death as a distant abstraction, something to be acknowledged later, something to avoid thinking about now. The Stoics did the opposite. They kept mortality in constant awareness, not to diminish life, but to intensify it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that every conversation, every task, every delay might be the last. This was not morbidity, it was precision. When time is seen as unlimited, it is wasted. When time is seen as finite, it is respected. Death as a filter. Memento Mori strips life down to what matters. Petty grievances lose urgency. Ego-driven pursuits feel hollow. Meaningless busyness becomes intolerable. The Stoics used death as a filter for decision-making. Will this matter in a year? In 10 years? At the end of my life? If not, it did not deserve emotional investment. Why urgency clarifies priority. Urgency is often misunderstood as rush. The Stoics meant something different. They meant intentional speed, acting without delay on what matters while refusing to be hurried by trivia. Seneca warned that people are not afraid of wasting time because they think they have plenty of it. Death corrects this illusion. You do not procrastinate when you know the clock is real. Memento Mori and courage. Remembering death makes courage possible. Fear shrinks when you realize that avoiding discomfort does not extend life, it only shrinks it. The Stoics believed that many people die long before their bodies do, simply by refusing to live according to principle. Memento Mori pulls you back into engagement. Death as equalizer. Death humbles. It does not negotiate with status, wealth, or reputation. This perspective freed the Stoics from social comparison. Why envy what cannot be kept? Why fear judgment from those equally temporary? The Stoic does not need to dominate. They need to live well, now. Daily Stoic practice. The Stoics did not meditate on death occasionally. They did it daily, not with drama, with sobriety. Ask, if this were my last day, would I act differently? What would I stop worrying about? What would I finally do? These questions cut through hesitation. Living, not dying. Memento Mori is not about death. It is about presence. When you remember that this moment will never repeat, you stop postponing your life. You speak honestly. You act deliberately. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. The core message: you will die. The Stoics did not whisper this truth. They faced it and were freed by it. Remembering death does not steal joy. It removes delay.
Part 10. Legacy without ego. What actually survives you? Most people think of legacy in terms of visibility, being remembered, being admired, leaving a name behind. The Stoics found this obsession misplaced. They believed legacy was not something you chased, it was something that emerged from how you lived. Why the Stoics distrusted fame. Fame depends on memory. Memory fades. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that even the greatest emperors are reduced to names, and eventually even names disappear.
If remembrance itself is temporary, then building your life around it is unstable. The Stoics asked a different question. Not, will I be remembered, but did I live rightly? Legacy as consequence, not goal. To the Stoics, legacy was not a project, it was a byproduct. If you lived with integrity, discipline, and service to the common good, impact followed naturally, often invisibly. Epictetus taught that you are a steward of your actions, not their reputation. This shift removes enormous pressure. You stop performing, you start aligning. Virtue is the only possession that lasts. The Stoics believed that everything external can be taken: wealth, status, health, recognition. Only character remains intact. This is why virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control was not a moral luxury, it was survival. A person with virtue cannot be ruined by circumstance. Why ego distorts legacy. Ego demands audience. It wants validation now, even if it compromises long-term integrity. The Stoics warned that ego trades substance for applause, and applause disappears the moment you stop entertaining. Legacy rooted in ego collapses. Legacy rooted in principle endures, not as memory, but as influence passed forward. You teach by how you live. The Stoics believed influence flows through example. People absorb how you handle stress, how you treat others, how you respond to failure. You do not need to announce your values, you demonstrate them. This quiet transmission shapes others more deeply than instruction. The Stoic view of success. Success was not accumulation, it was alignment. Did you act according to reason? Did you fulfill your role? Did you leave people better, not smaller? If yes, the Stoics considered the life complete, regardless of recognition. Letting go of the need to be seen. When you release the need to be noticed, you gain freedom. Freedom to do the right thing even when no one is watching. Freedom to fail quietly and improve. Freedom to act without waiting for permission. This freedom is rare and powerful. The Stoic inheritance. What you leave behind is not your image, it is the standard you lived by. Others may forget your name, they will remember how you made them think, act, or stand. The core message. You do not control how long you are remembered. You control how well you live. The Stoics built their lives on this truth and found peace where others chased applause.
Part 11. The Stoic Integration, a life governed from within. Everything you have read so far leads to this point. Not a trick, not a technique, but a way of being. Stoicism was never meant to be consumed in pieces. Each principle reinforces the others, forming a single system, one that places authority where it belongs, inside you. What the Stoics were really teaching. Strip away the language, the history, the quotes, and the Stoic message is simple. You are not here to be entertained by life. You are here to live it well. Living well to a Stoic does not mean living comfortably. It means living deliberately. Every part of this philosophy points inward. Time must be owned, not filled. Silence must protect effort. Environment must support character. The mind must be cleared before it is strengthened. Consistency must replace intensity.
Response must be chosen, not triggered. Reality must be accepted, not resisted. Mortality must be remembered, not denied. Legacy must emerge, not be chased. None of this requires perfect conditions. It requires governance. The shift from reaction to authority. Most lives are reactive. People wait to see what happens, then respond emotionally. The Stoic reverses this. They decide in advance who they will be, then meet events accordingly. This is not rigidity, it is preparedness. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not to inspire others, but to remind himself who he intended to be when pressure arrived. Stoicism is not about controlling life, it is about not being controlled by it. A life without inner conflict. When your actions align with your values, internal friction disappears. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop justifying behavior you know is beneath you. You stop oscillating between intention and regret. This alignment creates a quiet confidence that does not require display. You know where you stand, even when others do not. The Stoic definition of freedom. Freedom to the Stoics was not the absence of obligation, it was independence from compulsion. You are free when praise does not inflate you, criticism does not destabilize you, difficulty does not excuse you, comfort does not weaken you. This freedom is internal and therefore durable. The role you were given. The Stoics believed each person is born into a role, not one you choose, one you are entrusted with. Parent, leader, worker, student, citizen. You do not control the role, only how well you play it. Excellence, then, is not comparison, it is fidelity to responsibility. The daily Stoic question. At the end of the day, the Stoics asked themselves one thing: did I act according to my highest understanding today? Not perfectly, not impressively, honestly. This question requires no audience, only integrity. The quiet life that cannot be shaken. A Stoic life does not look dramatic, it looks stable. Calm under pressure, focused without noise, strong without aggression. This stability is what makes Stoicism endure across centuries. It works when motivation fails. It works when circumstances collapse. It works when no one is watching. The final Stoic truth. You do not need to become someone else. You need to stop abandoning yourself. Stoicism is not self-denial. It is self-loyalty. Closing reflection. If you take nothing else from this journey, take this. The world will always be uncertain. Your response does not have to be. Build a life governed from within, and no external chaos can take it from you.